Good morning. It's time to read the Bible again. I appreciate you joining me. Again, we will be in the Gospel of John this morning, chapter 11. I do want to remind you, please be much in prayer for Brother Tony today as he has surgery. I believe Miss Yvonne also has some tests done today, so let's remember her. Please continue to remember Miss Ruth as she is continuing to improve of her health-wise from taking the treatments and things of that nature. And let's also continue to remember Melvin and Vicki Pittman in our prayers also. Well, we're here to read the Word of God this morning, so let's go to John chapter 11, where John writes, and God says, verse 1, Now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and his sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sister sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. And when Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now Jesus loved Martha and his sister and Lazarus. When he had heard therefore that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that saith to his disciples, Let us go unto Judea again. His disciples saying unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? And Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things said he. After that he said unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awaken him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleepeth, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he spoke of taking of rest in sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sake that I was not there too. And I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. Then said Thomas, this is the one that we always refer to as Doubting Thomas. There was a lot more to Thomas's character than we give credit sometimes, but look here, it says, Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. That's loyalty. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, near to Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. That's less than 2 miles. Yet Jesus abode 2 days, or waited 2 days before he headed that way. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. And verse 20, Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, If thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it to thee. She has a lot of faith here. It's being expressed in her words. Whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Jesus said unto her, Thy brother shall rise again. Martha said unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Common response when we try to tell somebody something. I know. Ask someone a question. I don't know. I hear this a lot. But she says, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection. Jesus is going to show her something different. He says in, again, John 11, verse 25, Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believeth thou this? And she's already said, I believe that whatever you ask God to give you, and I believe in the resurrection, he will rise. And Jesus puts this to her and says plainly, Believest thou this? She said unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had said so, she went her way and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, The Master is come and calleth for thee. As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly and came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then, which were with her in the house and comforted her, when they saw Mary, that she rose up hastily and went out, followed her, saying, She goeth unto the grave to weep there. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled, and said, Where have you laid him? And they said unto him, Lord, come and see. And then John 11, verse 35, which people quote so many times, all 2 words of it, Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Jesus therefore again groaned in himself, coming to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. There's a sermon in there, but we're here for the reading of the word. And Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. And that's when the body begins to decompose, 4 days in the grave. I don't know about those first 3 days, but on the 4th day the body is beginning to rapidly decompose, and it would stink. Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldst believe, thou shouldst see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I say it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he had thus spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he said, and he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave cloths, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Now, I can only make assumptions here that if he's bound, he can't necessarily walk, and if his face is covered, he's not necessarily going to be able to see. So he must have been borne up by angels, but the Bible doesn't tell us that. There's nothing here in John chapter 11 that refers to that. But it simply came forth, it says in verse 44, And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary, and had seen the things which Jesus did believed on him. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees, and told them what things Jesus had done. So here we have tattletales. People always running to the establishment or to the boss or somebody, trying to seek some glory for themselves, I suppose. But just simply, rather than glorifying Jesus and God and just basking in the moment and seeking his face and acknowledging the miracle, they run to tell the Pharisees. In John 11, verse 47, Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council, and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and nation. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation. And for that nation only, but verse 52, and not for that nation only, rather, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. Then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. From that day forward they sought to put Jesus to death. And Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence into a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. In verse 55, And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves as they stood in the temple, What think ye, that he will not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that if any man knew where he were, he should show it, that they might take him. Again, their hearts are set on killing Jesus, taking his life, and putting an end to this that threatens their position and their place in life. They had no real desire to know the Messiah, nor to worship him, nor to serve him. Many today lack a desire to worship Jesus and to serve him. They want to discount his ministry. They want to discount the miracles even today. They want to say he wasn't the Son of God. Many say he didn't even exist, but there's enough extra biblical evidence that Jesus did once live, and there's enough biblical evidence, the writing of eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses that declare he did live, he was crucified, and he did rise from the grave. So, thus ends the reading of John chapter 11. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God also watch over you this day and bless you. Thank you for joining me this morning.